Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the 9th episode in my Power Stages series on Dirt 4. In the previous episode we established that, seemingly at least, the older the Group A car, the quicker it is. Well, at the very least, the Lancia Delta Integrale from 1992 was the quickest and is currently the 4th quickest car I've driven in this series. But now we're moving onwards and away from the 1990s Group A cars, as we finally hit the official WRC specification cars, or the 2000cc cars as they are referred to in this game. There's only 3 cars, 2 of which are Ford Focuses, and the first 2 in this category are from the 2001 WRC season. First off, we've got the 2001 first generation Ford Focus rally car, the nearly car from the 2001 season. Ford finished as the runners-up in the 2001 Manufacturers' Championship and just behind Peugeot with their 206, which weirdly isn't in this game at all. In addition to Ford nearly winning the Manufacturers' Championship, they also nearly won the Drivers' Championship, but Colin McRae was just 2 points behind the Drivers' Champion that season, Richard Burns. And what car was Richard Burns driving? The Subaru Impreza. Yes, Subaru finished away down in the Manufacturers' Championship, but that was largely due to, and I'm surprised to be saying this, Petter Solberg only scoring 11 points all season. But this was during the very early stages of his career. I mean, this was his first full season with Subaru. But anyway, back onto the main topic in hand, and that is that Richard Burns just about won a very closely contested 2001 Drivers' Championship in this very Subaru Impreza. So for that reason you might assume this car would be quicker than the 2001 Focus. After all, Subaru's main driver beat the legendary drivers of Carlos Sainz and Colin McRae, who were both in the Ford Focus. Comparing 2 cars from a closely fought 2001 season isn't particularly straightforward, but comparing 2 similarly matched cars along with a similar spec car from 2007 is even trickier. And when I say similar spec, I'm not joking. The Subaru Impreza, along with both generations of the Ford Focus, are nearly identical statistically. They all have 300 horsepower, they all weigh 2,711 pounds. They all have 4-cylinder engines, although Subaru's engine is a flat 4 and not a straight 4 unlike in the Focuses. And finally, they're all turbocharged. The 2007 Ford Focus, which is the only car of the bunch with a 5-speed gearbox, whereas the others have a 6-speed, it's unclear to say how it stacks up to its rival cars from the 2001 WRC season. At a glance you would think that this car is one to forget, as it comes in the middle of the Sebastian Loeb championship streak and towards the start of the general Sebastian dominance in WRC. However, in 2007 Sebastian Loeb driving the Citroen C4, which again, why isn't that car in this game as well? Anyway, Sebastian Loeb won the championship in that Citroen C4 by only 4 points on Marcus Gronholm in the Ford Focus. But because Gronholm's teammate Mikko Hirvonen outscored Loeb's teammate Danny Sordo by 34 points, meant that Ford beat Citroen in the Manufacturers' Championship by a strong margin. During the noughties, rallying was incredibly competitive, and that's why it's difficult to work out which car was the quickest in that season, never mind how a car stacks up compared to another car from a different season, because all of the cars are confined to pretty much the same regulations, statistically they're the same, and between each season you've got multiple cars, multiple manufacturers producing very similarly matched cars, so it is difficult to work out which car is the quicker of a bunch. You would assume that the 2007 car would be quicker than the 2 2001 cars, but as we saw with the Group A cars in this game, the 2 oldest were the 2 quickest, and in fact the oldest car, the Lancia Delta Integrale, was the fastest. But in that Group A category, the older cars statistically were better than the newer ones. So the Lancia Delta and Ford Escort from the early 90s had more power and less weight than their more modern rivals. I'm not sure if there were any major rule changes between 1992 and 1995, but the Lancia Delta is so much quicker just on paper, just statistically, it is so much better than the cars that came in the immediate future after it. So I feel like there must have been a rule change made between 92 and 95, or at least around those years, but I couldn't find anything out to say that there was. In the 2000cc category, all of the cars are, at least according to their crib sheets, pretty much identical, and I know for a fact that there were no real significant rule changes made between 2001 and 2007. So knowing all that we know, I'll give you a few seconds to decide which of the cars is the slowest. Well, in fact, the slowest 2000cc car on this game, albeit not by much, is the 2001 Ford Focus. On the whole, it is a very solid car. As I said in the Group A video, by this point, the rallying world had pretty much worked out how to build a quick yet controllable rally car. So on the whole, the Ford Focus is fairly decent, but not quite as easy to drive at high speed, or as quick as its successor, or its 2001 championship winning rival, but I'll get into that a little later. The only slight issue I notice is that it can go very light at high speed. What I mean by that is that when you enter some medium to high speed corners that tighten up, you'll find that occasionally the car just doesn't slow down. Momentum carries on and you end up four-wheel drifting into whatever it is you're trying to avoid. It's such a weird sensation, and whilst you could say that that was me overdriving the car, I've never felt so hopelessly unable to stop a slide in any other car I've driven. It almost feels like the car is extremely light, or running on the wrong tyres. This is the only minor issue which caught me out only on a handful of occasions, and it is something you can adapt to fairly quickly. The only other complaint, and I had this exact same issue with the Evo 6 from the previous episode, and that is the brake bias being weighted way too much to the rear end. It's not as bad as it was in the Evo, and in fact it's not that much worse than any of the other Group A cars. I just feel I should mention it as, well, one, it's the only other negative I can think of for this car, and two, it caught me out on a perfectly good run when the rear span round, I controlled it to the point where I was drifting, but then forward momentum sent me into a fence. That happened just before the final corner and ruined an otherwise decent run. After that instance, I was able to get a clean stage in and set a stage time of 2 minutes and 54.86 seconds. That's a pretty decent run, and it puts the Ford Focus in between the two F2 kit cars. And I've already said how much I love those, so that tells you how good this Ford Focus is. So overall, it's not a bad car, but the Impreza is quicker, and so is this car's successor, the 2007 Ford Focus. I won't say much now, but both of these cars are faultless. I'm a big Subaru Impreza fan, and I can certainly see how Richard Burns won his only Drivers' Championship in this car. But at the same time, the 2007 Ford Focus is so much quicker than its 2001 counterpart. Both of these cars are within the top 7 quickest I've driven this series to date, but which has the edge? I'll start off with the newest car here, the 2007 Ford Focus, to see just how much has changed in 6 years of rallying.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thanks again, Nikki, and away we go, and let's find out just how much quicker this 2007 Ford Focus is than its 2001 counterpart. And already we're at the bridge, over the bridge and past the bridge. And I can tell you, I was flat out along this start straight. I couldn't have pushed the car any harder. So let's see this top speed we reach, and that is 124? I think 124 miles an hour was the top true speed that was read out on that speedo there. And we're going to come down, braking for the hairpin, sliding in, but that was a controlled slide. I induced that slide myself. It wasn't one that was caused by the rears locking up and swinging the rear end around. That was definitely done by me. Now this Ford Focus, it's surprising how different it is, bearing in mind 6 years difference, no major regulation changes in WRC between 2001 and 2007, yet this car is so much better. It's more planted, more controllable, more predictable, more stable. It's just a better car to drive. And the 2001 Focus was a bit... I'm trying to think of the words. It was a bit scatty, a bit drifty, a bit on edge all the time. It's not a bad car, as I said, it's in the middle of the two F2 kit cars. That's testimony to how good it is. And as we're going to see, yeah, just slight mistake on my part, clip the banking there, a bit of time lost, but none of the stages, or very few, if any, of the stages I've done in this series have been perfect. I try and make sure all of the stages for all of the cars are equally good, so they're all what I would consider to be decent stages. Yes, there might be minor issues running wide, clipping the bank, but generally they're all clean, acceptable, fairly comparable stages. But anyway, this Ford Focus, this 2007 model, unlike its 2001 model, which the 2001 car just felt too light. It was so weird, it just felt light, and there was that weird momentum issue, almost as if it had the wrong tyres on it. It would just slide into corners. This is a perfect section, because I had some issues here with the 2001 Focus, but no, we were able to slow down, turn into corners, no sliding. It's just planted. I arguably actually went too slowly one there. I certainly could have gone quicker. But this Focus, it's planted, it's controlled. It is so much better. You can never put a foot wrong with it. If you make a mistake, if you crash, it is entirely your fault. Because this car, it's got all the grip in the world. It almost doesn't feel like you're driving off-road. It's stuck to the ground. The suspension absorbs the bumps. You're never out of control. It never shoots you up. It's just a quick, controllable car. Honestly, this stage, it could have been done on tarmac. It was that easy to drive. And that's a 2:50, pretty much dead stage time. And that's hardly surprising. 4.8 seconds quicker than its 2001 counterpart. Well, it was a much, well, I'm not sure about quicker car, but certainly controllable car. So the 2007 Ford Focus set a stage time of just over 2 minutes and 50 seconds. That's a 4.8 second improvement over the 2001 Focus. And it's hardly surprising because this car just sticks to the ground. With most rally cars, you can often feel a slight bit of air or bump or jump or some loss of momentum or just some occasional loss of stability when you're going over jumps or bumps or any rugged terrain. You do not get that with this car. There's so much more downforce. I'm not sure if there actually is more downforce, but certainly it feels like it. And you just have to look at the 2001 Focus. It just looks like a repainted original Ford Focus. Then you look at the 2007 car and you can see there's aero parts going on at the back, there's a rear wing at the back, there's a front splitter at the front. I think there is more downforce, and even if there isn't, it feels like it for whatever reason. Even if it's not downforce, whether it's due to the suspension, who knows. But it's more controllable, and just because it's more controllable, for that very reason, it is quicker. But the 2007 Focus being quicker than the 2001 Focus is hardly an earth-shattering revelation. So what is more interesting is this clash of championship winning cars. The 2001 Subaru Impreza has got the time to beat, but can it do it?
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thanks again, Nikki, and Nikki, I'm sorry for sticking you in this Impreza. But the fact of the matter is that the Ford Focus you were co-driving in 2001 is slower than this Impreza. But anyway, down the start straight, flat out, much like I was in the 2007 Focus. So let's have a look at the speed I can reach, pushing the car as hard as it can go. 121 miles an hour, I definitely saw when the car was touching the ground. So coming under braking now for the hairpin, and got a bit jittery on the brakes. It's not a good start, especially as the 2007 Ford Focus, the top speed that car reached down the start straight was 124 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour more. But, well, this Subaru Impreza, I mean, they say never meet your heroes, but this for me is the rally car. I was born in 1998, this car was competing in 2001. At the time, Subaru was one of the big names in world rallying. Subaru Imprezas are the rally cars, but especially from around this time, the early noughties. This is the rally car, and well, you're looking at it, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with this car. There's no control issues, stability issues. We haven't got any braking problems like we've got with the 2001 Focus. I didn't smack the wall like I did in the 2007 Focus. There's nothing wrong with it. You might see going around this corner, yeah, a little bit slow and a bit segmented, the turning there. The only reason it comes across as that is, well, trying to put the power on to combat the slight understeer. Now it's weird because I drove this car straight after the 2001 Ford Focus, and the 2001 Ford Focus, as I've already said, it was a bit light, a bit jittery. This car, slightly heavy front end, but I think that's always been the case. Well, it always has been the case when the Subaru Imprezas and even the Mitsubishi Evos, when they were in this sort of configuration, the sedan cars, I think they always had a tendency to have just a slight amount of understeer. I think I've heard it said on Top Gear before that the Subaru Impreza, small understeer but masses of grip, and that is how I would sum up this car. It's no control issues, much like with the 2007 Focus. It's just, you know, it's stuck to the ground. Less so with this, but what I would say is it is controllable, it is predictable, it's powerful, it's quick. You can't go wrong with it. You really can't. It is a quick car. Is it quicker than the 2007 Focus? I do not know. It's incredibly close. Going around the final corner, a bit wide heading into this. So that would have cost it a bit of time. 2 minutes 50 the 2007 Focus did, and this car just a little bit slower. That's possibly down to human error, but what I will say is that the 2001 Focus was good, but this 2001 Impreza and the 2007 Ford Focus, both of them are planted, controllable, quick, powerful. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either of them. So there you have it. I'm sure many of you would have guessed it, but the 2007 Ford Focus is quicker than both of the 2001 cars in this game. I didn't say this earlier as it would have given the result away, but the 2007 Focus is the quickest in a straight line, and not just in terms of top speed, as I already established during the stage runs. As always, I timed how long it took each car to get from the start line to the start of the bridge, and it took only 9.592 seconds for the 2007 Ford Focus to get there. The 2001 Impreza was just under the 10-second mark, and the 2001 Focus was just over the 10-second mark. Simply put, the 2007 Ford Focus is the fastest accelerating and is generally the best performing car in a straight line in the 2000cc category. But on top of that, it's also literally faultless. All of the other cars in this category, and generally speaking in this game, I can at least find minor faults with, such as with the Subaru Impreza's minor understeer. But the 2007 Focus has none of those issues. It is controlled, planted, grippy, powerful, fast accelerating, perfect. This car handles exactly how a rally car should. It's powerful, controllable, and feels planted all at the same time. It's no surprise then that it's the fourth quickest car I've driven in this series so far, and it's just behind the more modern R5 cars. For me though, this Focus is pretty much rallying perfection. I'm not saying it's the quickest because factually it just isn't, and we've still got the Group B cars left to come in the next episode. But if I was designing a rally car, I would want it to handle and drive and feel exactly like this one.